Hello and welcome. I'm Sharon Porteous, the Partnerships Coordinator at the Inner East Primary Care Partnership. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we are recording today, the Wurundjeri people, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. From the 17th to the 23rd of May is National Volunteers Week, a really important event that recognises the amazing contribution volunteers make to our community and gives us an opportunity to say thank you. The Inner East Primary Care Partnership has joined forces with the 7 Eastern Region Councils to tackle ageism together. National Volunteers Week gives us a great opportunity to talk about ageism and challenge the stereotype of older people being a burden on the economy. When you take into account the value of the millions of hours of unpaid and volunteer work done by older Australians, economists suggest that this would offset the total cost of the age pension. In our region, we have hundreds of volunteers over the age of 55 who give their time generously to service and support their local communities. I'm really pleased to be talking with one such person today, Gillian Tonson, who is a volunteer with Eastern Volunteers. Welcome, Gillian.
Hi, it's good to be with you.
So perhaps we could start with, if you could tell me a bit more about volunteering at Eastern Volunteers and how you came to volunteering.
Well, I was actually a kindergarten teacher in my last 10 years of my working life, having done secretarial before that. But I had an accident, not at work, where I broke my heel and I was 6 months on crutches and I had to learn to walk again.
Wow.
After about 18 months, I felt ready to be out of the house and being a bit more useful somewhere. And I began to browse the web and I discovered Eastern Volunteers. I was looking for something that I could do sitting down, as I didn't want to be standing up too much. But Eastern Volunteers really offers a lot of different options for people bringing a variety of skills to the community. And the particular thing for me was their transport section, where I could be a driver sitting down. They take people in many directions of life, whether it's to hospital appointments, medical appointments, physio, just to have a social outing with somebody else. They can ring up volunteers and book transport where the driver will put walkers in and out of boots and get people safely to and from their place of choice. And it's about half the cost of a taxi. They need to be under 65 and on a disability pension, or over 65 and on the pension to qualify for these services. But because I had a secretarial background, they quickly put me to use in the office as well. And so I do 2 days a week, usually 1 day on the road and 1 day in the office.
Wow, fantastic. That's really great to hear the sorts of volunteering that you do and how you can use some of your previous skills and as well as doing something maybe a little bit different. So what is it about your volunteering that you really enjoy?
Well, having been on crutches for 6 months, I found myself with great empathy for people who have to manage all of their life using walking devices and totally relying on it. And that's going to be an ongoing thing as people become frail and need that support, which obviously gives them confidence to get out with a walker. Our clients are just so grateful for the help that our transport services give them. Many of them have no family living nearby, and some of them actually don't have many friends, but it means they can get out and go shopping. We do a shopping service for people. They ring in and we do the order online, and then the drivers pick it up and deliver it to their house. Before COVID, the drivers were actually accompanying people in the supermarket, but we're not back to that yet. But they are just so grateful, and it gives me a real feeling that I'm helping somebody to maintain that independence, which gives them a good mental feeling, and obviously I feel good about it too.
Yeah, that's such a fantastic service, isn't it? And just people being able to maintain their independence in that way would be so important to them.
Mm-hmm.
So Unfortunately, there seems to be a negative view of older people living longer, healthier lives, meaning economic disaster. But the contribution of the millions of hours of unpaid and volunteer work done by older people must offset this. What do you think about the contribution older people make to the community through volunteering?
Well, I think older people have such a wealth of experience to share. And I do think of many older ones who are just sitting in front of the pokies, but for me, I am energised by being out with people. And in the case of Eastern Volunteers, we are able to mentor younger people who are coming in. And so that experience that we've got, we can pass on, like just simple little things in admin. Sometimes the managers haven't got the time to explain all the details of why and where and how we do things. And a volunteer can be there and just put a few things in place, explaining systems, why things are done and how they need to be done the same because they're used by a lot of different people. And just that gentle understanding with a bit more time can really help a young person find their way, and many of them do get a job after volunteering with us. I think for the older folks, it's such a worthwhile thing for our own mental health to realise we can be helping somebody else. It does us good to have to get up and out of bed and away from the television. On the road, you're managing the traffic to get there or using public transport. But I think generally for both sides, us giving and others receiving, it must be reducing the demand on mental health, which is increasing at the moment, especially after COVID.
Yeah, absolutely important. So is there anything else that you'd like to add about your experience as a volunteer, or, you know, what you know about other volunteers, which I'm sure you meet from time to time at Eastern Volunteers?
I think our drivers and the different experiences that they have with clients, some of them are driving quite often. Some of the men drive even 3 days a week. And we have, what do we have? 135 trips a day with 12 cars on the road and 3 buses. The buses are used for taking people to Probus or senior citizens outings. And so some of those drivers are getting to know people quite well, and even people who might be having regular attendances at hospital for cancer therapy, and it's a regular thing, maybe twice a week or once a week over 10 to 12 weeks, where they might be driving half an hour or 40 minutes to that appointment. So that long chat with a regular person that they see becomes a really valuable time in their week.
Yeah, what a fantastic service. That's an amazing amount of trips and the amazing amount of people that the volunteers are supporting every day. Yeah, brilliant.
And the office behind it, the computer program blows me away when you've got people ringing, booking new trips, cancelling them, changing them. It all has to be entered on the computer, and we ask people to ring us 3 days before, because one person's job is to schedule all these trips, and then they all have to be slotted to cars and drivers. And then the day before the trip, somebody else rings every person and tells them the times that they'll be picked up and the names of their drivers. So there's a lot of individual things within that, as well as the shopping thing that I mentioned before.
Yeah, a lot involved.
Let alone the invoices, and all of that's done on the computer as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Gillian, for your really valuable insights today into what it is to be a volunteer. And thank you also for your amazing contribution to the community. You know, hopefully we can all celebrate that next week with National Volunteers Week, but we should be thanking you every day.
Yeah, well, it's a great privilege, and I'll be doing it for a few years yet, I can tell you.
So I'd like to wrap up by acknowledging the funding support that we receive from the Victorian Government for the joint regional campaign to tackle ageism in the Eastern region. And I'd also really like to acknowledge the 7 councils that we've joined with on this campaign: Boroondara, Knox, Manningham, Monash, Maroondah, Whitehorse and Yarra Ranges. We also tie in and support the EveryAGE Counts national campaign, and the Eastern Community Legal Centre is doing work on preventing abuse of older people, and we're linking in with that. So for more information, anyone can go to the Inner East Primary Care Partnership website, which is iepcp.org.au, and search for ageism, or keep an eye out on your local council's website, social media, and for their newsletters. Gillian, would you like to tell us if people are interested in volunteering, what should they do?
Well, they can ring Eastern Volunteers 9870 7822, and that will give them an opportunity to have an initial interview with one of our intake assessors. And there are many different ways that people can volunteer with Eastern Volunteers, not just the transport section, which is a big part of it, but there are other options, and that's the best way to get a link. They'll give you an appointment time and come in and have a chat with somebody about possibilities.
Fantastic, thank you. Would you like to say that number again?
9870 7822.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Gillian. It was fantastic talking with you today.
Thank you.